What's up, Town and Country Insurance? Hi, welcome to Sales Training with Neil Johnson. I'm Neil Johnson, and I'll be your coach today. Anyways, no, having fun with you. I miss you folks. I do. I'd rather be down there in person doing this because I actually like seeing all your smiling faces. I like the discussion. I like the energy of the room. And I like your eagerness to learn, and I'm not just saying that. Actually, it's been a lot of fun coming down there and meet with you folks, and I do appreciate all those things. But such is the time. So I'm actually recording this in my basement, not my basement, my garage. We call it the basement because it's the first level of our house. We have a carriage house, so the home is built over the garage. But anyhow, I'm just down here. I just kind of created a little set so I could do this. We'll do the Zoom conference later, but I just wanted to get this information out first, and then we can discuss it afterwards. But it just felt that it would have, I don't know, I guess a chance to just lay the information out and have a little more professional appearance with my infinite black screen. Do you like that? Yes, it isolates the subject. It's one of the things we do in video a lot. But anyways, on to this. So we're going to talk about closing skills. We talked a little bit about objection handling. We talked briefly about closing last time. I really wanted to get into presentation skills, but that is really going to take a workshop where we're together, and I want to break you out into groups, and I have an idea with how that's going to go. So in lieu of that, we're going to do this. This is a little backwards because I'd like to get into some of that presentation, because you can handle a lot of the objections in the course of the presentation if you do that right and really set it up for the close. But of course there's a month between now and when I get together with you next, and hopefully we'll be able to get together in person. I really think this coronavirus is going to go bye-bye. I think we're ahead of the curve on it, because I think actually more people had it early than they knew. And I got a lot of reasons for that, but I'm not going to get into all my coronavirus research, because I only know what I've read, and what I've read might not even be right. So, because obviously what a lot of people are reading isn't right. Otherwise, we'd have this thing figured out. So, we talked a little bit about price objection last time. We're going to touch on that a little bit more, and then we're going to go over, I'm going to talk about some different closing techniques, and then I'm going to just kind of role play out an example with kind of a mock client and just show you how you would utilize that. I'm just going to pretend I'm going to be the mock client, okay? So I'm going to be the salesperson and the client. I'll be like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And Mr. Hyde's the salesperson, right? No, or is it Dr. Jekyll? I know, I'm trying to remember. Anyhow, yeah, Mr. Hyde, yes, would be the salesperson, and Dr. Jekyll would be the customer, because they can be challenging at times. Anyways, but one of the things I want to talk to you about is an analogy, and I think one of the things that happens in sales is that with closing, many people just give up too soon. They give up too early. And when, I'm sure some of you have done some strength training, some weightlifting, and in that there's a concept called train to failure. To make it even odder, there's even one called train beyond failure, which seems odd, but I'll explain that in just a second here. But the point is that if you train to failure, you can trigger your muscles in a way you can't if you just go to a certain level of fatigue. Failure is when you're lifting, is when you just can no longer maintain the form, and you just can't push the weight anymore. And you just go until you just can't go anymore. And there's debate in this circle as to, what's the best way, but most professional weightlifters will tell you that training to failure, and you have to kind of do it in these series and all that, but I'm not going to get into all that. The point of it is that by training to failure, you are able to create a more aggressive response in the muscles. And there's a state in muscle development, where we're dealing with, they talk about hypertrophic, if you've heard that, or hypertrophy or hypertrophy. I've heard it pronounced different ways, but the bottom line is that is the point at which you affect the muscle in a way that makes it larger and makes it stronger, and you see more of that hypertrophic result, more cell development within the muscles to enlarge the fast twitch muscle fibers, which are the ones that can actually push the heavier weight. You will engage those more as you go to failure. And the same thing, I believe, is true in sales, where if you're willing to push it to failure, and most people aren't because they're afraid of losing the sale, and we just want to get away from that fear. And this does take a certain amount of confidence, and that's something that you can only get by doing this. Like the first time you do this, I got to tell you, you're not going to be that confident doing it. Okay? You try out a new closing technique and you won't be that confident. You can practice, drill, rehearse. That will give you more confidence. So as groups, I would encourage you to get together with some of the other people who are selling some of the same products as you are, and work with them on those the different closes and how you can incorporate those into your presentation, and how you can handle objections better in the course of your presentation, how you handle objections as they come up. And those are things that you can do in the interim between our sessions. And I really recommend that, because I did a lot of that. Back when I first started selling, we role-played and practiced and role-played and practiced and role-played. So we were more comfortable, more confident when we actually did that face-to-face. Now, again, until you do it face-to-face a number of times and have utilized it and made it work, you won't have the same level of confidence. And maybe that's not what you want to hear, but that's just a reality of life. Action cures fear, and continual improvement in practice and utilization is what's going to build that confidence. And that's really what it takes. So it's nothing like getting a sale that seemed impossible to build your confidence level. So most sales do not happen until the 5th to 7th closing attempt. Okay, now you can speed that up with a better presentation that handles objections in the course of that presentation, and that's what I want to talk to you about next time. But we really need to be there in person, and we need to kind of start role-playing and building out presentation steps. But for now, we're going to just talk about some of the objections, and we're going to focus in on this price objection again, because we've got to really get that one down. And then we're going to talk about some of these different closing techniques. Now, I'm just going to go over a few closing techniques. We're going to talk about the assumptive close. Obviously, that's a high confidence close, because you have to assume that if you've got a good product and a good service, and you're you, okay, and everybody loves you, okay, so you got a good product or service, you're you, and you've done a good presentation, well, why wouldn't they want to buy, right? So that's where you have to be at mentally to use the assumptive close, because then you're just going to assume the sale, basically utilizing some positive thinking, if you will. That's really what the assumptive close is. The directive close, we touched on that when we were together last time, but that is the number one close, and especially for your business, directive close is going to work out great for insurance sales, because it can be a complex sale, and they need to be walked through the directive, especially in the commercial, okay? In the commercial lines, it can be very complex, because you have to do this whole audit, and you have to continually audit, right? And you have to be able to guide them through that process. So that directive close is going to be very important, and they're going to rely on you as the expert. That's the key to the directive close. You need to position yourself as the expert, okay? And then we will talk also about the alternate choice close. That's simply A or B. So we'll utilize that in this example. But, would you like policy A or policy B? Which policy do you like best, A or B? Do you like the coverage in policy A or B better? You can use a series of alternate choice closes. Do you like the coverage in A or B better? Okay. Which company do you trust the most, A or B? You can use a series of those, and then get to a point where you've got like 3 in this column and 1 in this one, and you're going with this one. But most simple, it's just A or B, okay? That's the directive close. I had written down a couple others, and I just want to make sure. Takeaway, I know we talked about that last time. Gabe likes the takeaway. Summary close, that's where you restate everything, which can be used obviously in conjunction with the assumptive, but it gives them a certain level of confidence as you re-summarize everything. Order pad close, that can work really well if you're out in front of them in person. And you could even utilize that in a video conference, which may, because obviously a lot of people probably aren't meeting face to face right now because they're concerned about the virus. But you can do that video conferencing. I think Nate was using the video conferencing a lot and having some good success with it. Anything you can do. And the other thing we're going to talk about is selling the appointment. Okay, because you want dedicated time. So if somebody calls in for a quote, obviously you don't want to just start regurgitating quotes over the phone. You want to talk to them, and so I'm just going to kind of role play this out. Okay, phone rings, ring, ring. Hello, this is Nate with Town and Country Insurance. Your friendly insurance people. No, however you answer the phone, but they say, oh, okay, well, I'm looking for a quote on some auto insurance. And you're like, oh, okay. How did you hear about us? You always want to know how they heard about us. Well, my neighbor, John, has a farm, and he utilizes you guys and said you were pretty good. And, he's playing reluctant buyer. He's not going to give you too much. He didn't say, John really said you were awesome because you are, okay? But nonetheless, he's just like, hey, you said you were pretty good, and so that's why I'm calling. Okay, and who currently carries your insurance? You can have some of that base questions. Well, here's what I'm going to do. Let's just say his name is Joe or John or whatever. Let's just say John. Was the farmer John or was the farmer Joe? Anyways, I get confused on all this. Let's go with Steve. Okay, let's go with Steve. So this Steve is who called you. The farmer was Joe. All right, and Steve's wife is Susie. That way we got two that start with S. Okay, so we got Steve and Susie. And so but Steve's the one who calls, and he said, yeah, so Joe said you were pretty good. And so then you say, well, all right, well, Steve, here's what I'm going to do. I need to gather some basic information, obviously, to get a quote. And I'm going to ask you a few questions. But then to get you all that information and to answer any questions, I'm going to set up a time to connect with you via video conference. Is that fair enough? Remember we talked about that, fair enough? And then typically they're just going to say yes at this point. Otherwise, if they have to come back, you want the appointment. You don't want to obviously you want an actual appointment, and preferably something where they can actually feel like they're talking to you. So we're going to utilize video for now. So anyways, you say, and then we'll have that appointment. Fair enough? That way I don't need to waste any of your time today while I'm looking this stuff up. And then we don't need to play an email game back and forth in the future or a phone tag back and forth in the future. We're going to have that video conference, and I will be able to answer any questions that you have on that. Does that sound good? Does that sound fair? Okay, great. And they say yes. Okay, so now you've got the appointment. Okay, you gather their information. Okay, now let's just say they have a 2011 Volkswagen Jetta turbo diesel, and they've got a 2002 Chevy Suburban for hauling their family around. So, and they just want liability on the one, the Suburban, and they want the full package on the Volkswagen, okay? Because the Suburban just isn't worth enough money. So, but in the process of that, of course, you're always looking for other business and also to get them a discount. So you ask them, and it turns out that they rent the basement from Joe's neighbor, and so just some renter's insurance. So you're going to get that in the quote as well because you've asked those questions, and maybe you threw something else in there too. But I'm just going to go with that for now. And so then what you do is you look that up, and obviously then you have the video conference with them, right? And you go through your presentation, and you extol the benefits of Town and Country. Now, one of the things, I want you to think about this, I think one of the things, and think about this in your own life, it's certainly true for me. In fact, I've been making appeals to everybody to not buy from Amazon and everything because this coronavirus has wreaked havoc on small business owners. And small businesses are the bedrocks of these communities, okay? That place that they can go for coffee, the local auto repair, local insurance, banking, all of that, so they can have a community, a local retail establishment where they can actually go get something where they don't have to drive 40 miles to the Walmart to get some things locally that they forgot to pick up. If they still do some of that shopping, they still want to have access to that local business. So they're going to give them more business, I hope, now as a result of that. So you're going to extol the benefits of working with you as a local enterprise, providing local service with people that they can call and get together with locally. Okay, so that's going to be a big part of your presentation. So let's just say you get to the end of the presentation and you start out with your alternate choice close. Okay, and let's say you were quoting them a policy with Travelers and then also with Progressive. Okay, you gave them two options, and you say, so you're on the video conference, and you say, Steve, I went, and you got Susie there too because you asked for that. Forgive me. You always want them both there, right? So Steve and Susie, so it's good to see you here today. Would love to be meeting with you in person, but times as they are, I want to run over these quotes with you. I shopped this out. One of the great things is us being an independent insurance agency. We have multiple carriers that we can look to, but in your case, I've kind of narrowed it down to two that had really the best rates on their policies and also the best coverages for you, and also companies that I felt very confident recommending. So anyways, I've got the policy from Travelers and I've got the policy, and you go over the policies, the coverages and all of that. And so Steve and Susie, based upon what you see here, which policy do you prefer? Do you prefer the one from Progressive or the one from Travelers? And they say, well, I think we like the Travelers one better. I know it's just a little bit more, but it seems that coverage was just a little bit better. And for a couple extra bucks, I think that coverage, what you said made sense. Yeah, I guess that's, and so then you just roll right into assuming. So now you're using a second closing technique, which is the assumptive close, and you say, well, great. Well, based upon that, I'll get these papers written up for the Travelers policy, and we'll get this all started for you. We can get a binder on there right away for you. And then they say, oh, I don't know that we're ready to just move ahead right now. Okay, so you're getting another objection. Okay, this is normal. This is not unusual. Okay, and it doesn't mean that you still can't get the sale done. So then you say, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you preferred the Travelers. And they say, well, yeah, but it's just I just want some time to think it over. Now, we already talked about this last time. What does I want to think it over mean? That's right, goodbye. It means goodbye. I won't ever see you again. Okay, so we know we don't want to just go, oh yeah, we'll just let you think it over and let you throw that in the circular file, and life will be grand. Okay, no, that's not what we're going to do here. We're going to come back and we're going to try again, because we are training to failure. Okay, or success. Okay, because we very well could be successful. So then at that point, you're going to come back and say, well, okay, so I'm sorry that so you want to think that over. That's a great idea. Do you mind if I ask, what it is that would keep you from doing this today? I mean, what specific thing? Well, I've paid too much for things before. I have, and then I find out, and it's no fun. So I just want to, check out some other prices. Oh, understood. So Steve, what you're saying is it's the price? Well, I don't. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I want to make sure I'm getting the right price. Yeah. I don't want to overpay. Okay. Well, again, one of the benefits of being a independent insurance agency is we have access to 25 lines. I don't know what it is, but let's just say 25 different carriers. And those 25 different carriers, I've kind of researched this out in these. I kind of narrowed it down to the best two for you. I kind of took a lot of that research work off of your plate. But let me ask you a question: Is price your only concern? I mean, is price more important than the service you get from the agency that you work with? Is it more important than the reputation of the company or the ability to pay the claim? Well, gosh, no, Steve's over here. Oh, no, they got to be able to pay the claim, and so. I guess, Steve, based upon that, one of the great things is we're right here in town. We're going to provide you with some great service. You just reiterate some of those points, okay? These are AAA rated companies. We have worked with them for 25 years. They have absolutely been some of the best companies. And when you get into a claim situation, you want the best companies to work with, companies that know you and they know your insurance agent, and they're willing to work with them and get that claim paid out quickly. And so I can really thoroughly recommend these. And let's just say, I got to be frank, I've shopped this out a lot. I don't believe that, let's just say you could get it for a little bit less somewhere else. And maybe you saved a couple percent. Let's just say you could save $50 this next year, and on insurance. But you don't get that local agent, you don't get this, you don't get that. But in addition to that, Steve, if it took you 4 hours to just shop this all out and really research it and find that best rate, and you save $50, do you make $12.50 an hour? Now, this is the point where you need to exercise patience and quiet, okay? And Steve's over there, well, no. Well, because you work in the trades, right? And Steve's like, yeah. Well, how much do you make per hour? Well, I make $30 per hour. So in other words, what you're saying, if you took that time to save $50, and I can't even see you saving that much, but let's just say you could, you would spend $120 in effort to save that $50. That really doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? No, I guess it doesn't. Great. Well, based upon that, then I really think that this would be the thing to do. So I can just get this paperwork all ready for you, and if that's good with you, we can just get that moving ahead. Does that sound fair enough? Sure. Yeah, no, you're right. That makes a lot of sense. And so then you just go through it. But you see, you've tried multiple closes. You've had to handle objections along the way, and there's a certain level of discomfort in that. But at the end of the day, you get the sale. And you have to be willing to push this. You just have to be willing to push this. Not in a pushy way, okay? You see, you're just asking the right questions. Because Steve and Susie don't want to lose $120 to save $50. You just need to help them see that. Does that make sense? So hopefully that was a good example. I know it's a little rough around the edges because we haven't worked through the presentation, and there's some things I need to understand from your side. But in general, that's the idea, is just to continue striving forward for that sale. But with that directive close, as we go back to Steve and Susie here, the thing you're going to do is, as the professional, you are going to walk them through all those next steps. All right, sorry, we had a little technical difficulty. It's called batteries. I don't know. Actually, there was still battery power left, so I don't understand why it stopped. But we just replaced them anyways, and now it appears to be working. So, but with the directive close, okay, the big key here is we need to be the professional handling the situation. Okay, we need to be the expert. Okay, so you need to instill confidence in them by having confidence in yourself and confidence in the product that you're selling and the knowledge you have doing that. So you walk them through the steps. We'll need to get a check from you for this. We'll get the binder on it. I need the signatures and so on. But you walk them through the steps of the sale to get that done. Okay, so hopefully it makes sense. That's the directive close. It's absolutely hands down, I think, the best close there is to really wrap that thing up with. But just remember, these people have a fear of failure. Okay, salespeople have a fear of rejection. We've talked about this before, but that's the tension. That's the tension. Okay, and our job is to manage that tension. We will not be able to alleviate. There's going to be discomfort in purchase decisions. But once you are their insurance person, once you're their guy or once you're their gal, okay, automatically you go up in their mind. And then the key is to just continue to add value to their lives. That's the big thing with all of this. Okay, selling the insurance, you need to add value to their lives. You need to be looking out for their best interests. Okay, and then throughout that process, when you're having conversations with them, add value to their lives. Give them good advice, sound advice. Okay, constantly be on the lookout for other products and services that can help them and offer those out to them. The more services that you can get people involved with in your business, the less likely you are to lose them as a customer. It's the pain to change at that point. So again, just always be looking for ways to add value and to become involved in other facets and build that referral network. Always ask for referrals. Okay. So anyways, I just wanted to cover those things on the video, and we'll jump on the horn here and talk some of this over, and I'll field any questions that you may have. Thanks for listening.